with that would be special anymore, quite frankly. I don't know who's left that he hasn't really been in the ring with. And I do feel like the sort of specialness about Hogan is kind of drifting away. I don't know why, because you think Hogan and WrestleMania should go hand in hand. They normally do, but there was just something really missing from this one, and I really just didn't get the buzz. Like, I remember when Austin, Rock and Hogan were out there, man, I was like in my element. I was so excited. I was like a little kid. I was, taking pictures and tweeting and messaging. But with this one, I certainly wasn't doing that, Matt. I mean, I really wasn't. I was just waiting to see what he'd say, to see what might be mucked up this year. But no, he done all right, I think. And yeah, I mean, kind of sort of done some stuff with the crowd, and that was it. Done his posing and went back again. I mean, I just have visions of Vince wheeling him out in a wheelchair, Matt. He'll use him forever. Until there's no more, just have visions of that, don't you? But or some sort of hologram. That'll be the next thing. We'll get to that later and all. But anyway, Paul Heyman is then standing in the ring, Matt, and this one threw me out a bit. And I was like, what on earth's happening here? And first of all, I thought, this might be interesting. It might be just a story angle, and Heyman's coming out to say, I don't know, Brock's not there, or he's refusing to come. But no, it turns out Brock Lesnar, if he can't be in the main event, Matt, he wants the first match. And to be honest with you, looking back in hindsight, he probably had a good idea. Get out of there. Don't want to stick around for this long, I tell you. So yeah, it turns out Paul Heyman and Brock might have been smart to get this over and done with. And of course, in storyline sense, I don't really. I know a lot of people said, what a way to start. This is really good. For me, I don't know what you thought about this, Matt, and we haven't discussed this before either. But for me, I've got to say, I'm going to go ahead. And I thought this was the wrong placement for this match. Especially knowing the result that happened, I was not feeling it for what happened. But I just felt like it was the wrong way to go. I actually thought they were going to start with Finn Balor for some reason. I really had it in my head that they were going to get that done whilst the crowd is hot. But, we'll get to that when it gets there. But, Matt, what did you make of WWE choosing to go with this? And why do you think they did that? Was it just purely for a pacing sense? Because, obviously, part of me thought, are they doing this to get the sort of bad stuff out of the way with, so that the crowd are just going to be fine the rest of the evening? Turns out, no. Brock, basically just, he put up a good fight. There were some low blows in it, and then, he's off into the sunset almost, it seems. And now Seth Rollins is the WWE Universal Heavyweight Champion. And kind of, for me, out of nowhere, didn't last a long time. But Matt, what was your sum up of this one?
There was the beatdown, wasn't there, before the match,
Mm-hmm.
which almost felt longer than the actual match itself when the bell rung. So,
yeah.
There was that part to it. A little bit of a story there for Seth, overcoming some more adversity. But it just really didn't all click into place. I mean, the build-up to this match, everything that Seth Rollins had done in the lead-up, it just didn't scream that he was going to win. That this was going to be the time that someone was going to come in here and beat Brock, pin him in that ring and actually carry the momentum. I mean, it's still questionable, isn't it? Because there was the low blow involved.
Yeah. They protected. Yeah.
But yeah, regardless of that, Brock ends up being pinned in that ring, and of course, probably going to disappear for a while, do his own thing. But it just didn't really feel like Seth was there. It didn't feel like he was at that point. I felt like they were going to hold off a bit longer, and probably go back to what they had planned previously. Go back with Roman in another match. No one wants to see another Brock and Roman match, but I felt like that was maybe the angle they were going to go down. But no, it seemed they had plans for Seth. They're just very bad at how they book him.
Yeah, it wasn't, for me, this wasn't a real passing of the torch, just the way they did it at WWE. It wasn't as if, you look back to those matches, Matt, with Brock and Finn Balor and Brock and Daniel Bryan and Brock and AJ Styles. I mean, they're classics. This was not going to go down as that, and this wasn't sort of a passing of the torch If he'd have had a match like an AJ Brock match or a Brock Daniel Bryan or a Brock Finn Balor match back at the Rumble and come out the winner, I kind of see that as, yes, Seth has become the man as such. He's become the guy. But the way they did it kind of makes me think, Matt, that WWE, they're sort of half-heartedly going with Seth here because they're kind of protecting Brock to a huge degree with that low blow and the quickness of it. I just felt like it wasn't as it needed to be. I mean, if I was doing it, I would have had it a proper match, and Brock could have worked it. I know Seth could have worked it with Brock, but they decided to go with this. It was almost like having a moment. Sacrificing a match for a moment, really, with this one. That's how I kind of put this down. The official time, 2 minutes 22 seconds, as Matt alluded to earlier. There was a lot going on before the match where we had Brock. I mean, I tell you what, Seth Rollins' back didn't look too good, did it? God dear, really bruised up that looked. The suplexes he was taking.
He didn't need to sell too much. I mean, he definitely had legit injuries.
Yeah. Brock made him work for it anyway. Seth Rollins wins. I mean, it is a surprise to me because I have nothing against Seth Rollins winning, by the way. I don't want people to think that I'm just a Brock guy all the time, but I wanted Seth to do it how, those matches have gone with Finn Balor and AJ. Like I was expecting that kind of match again, but they didn't go with that. They had other plans. I think they protected Brock there. I don't think it's the last we've seen of him. I know I've had a lot of emails saying, is that it now for him? No, I don't think it is. I think actually you're going to see him at the Saudi Arabia show, and then he's going to do the fight with Daniel Cormier. He'll be gone for a while. We won't see him, maybe not until the only matches he's going to do are the Saudi Arabia ones, in my book anyway. He's going to take a paycheck, and I think he'll be back next WrestleMania. I guarantee you it. He'll be back, especially if he wins and all in that fight with Daniel Cormier. But Vince will be all over that.
Yeah, I mean, imagine his price tag when he.
Yeah. I wonder if Vince is thinking maybe I should sign him up now before that fight happens, just in case, because God knows what'll happen with AEW as well. So maybe he's thinking I better be careful. So stars are very difficult to rate this because it was more of a moment than a match. I'm gonna give it. I was disappointed because I didn't see a match, so I'm gonna give it 2.5. Because again, it's 2 minutes. I do feel it was more of a moment than anything else. Now, don't get me wrong, there have been matches that have been fast that I have liked. In particular, Goldberg, Brock Lesnar, that was excellently done and well executed. But this one, it didn't have the same thing for me, and there was something quite missing with it, which was a bit of a shame because it was a crowning moment, I felt, that they tried to get across, but it didn't really do it for me. Matt, what do you give this rating-wise?
I'm really with you on that. I feel like it was much more about the end result
Mm-hmm.
than it was the actual match.
Mm-hmm.
The actual match was probably like an afterthought for WWE at this point. 3 curb stomps in a row, or the stomp, if they want to rebrand curb stomp. I don't want to make it sound more violent than it actually is. Not great for me. 1.5, maybe.
Fair enough.
I'll wait until. Obviously, this is before Raw, so maybe Seth has a bit more of a moment on Raw.
Yeah, I hope so.
The moment wasn't that great. He had no spectacular fireworks going off, or fanfare, or anything to do with a Shield kind of hug out, or anything like that. It was just, here you go, here's the title. Now, what's the way?
Yeah, no, it was. Fair enough. Okay, so we leave that. Then that match starts the show. Gets off to a big start, and then next up we have Jerry Lawler coming out. He's going to call the next match, and I am going to talk about the announcing of this bloody pay-per-view. I thought, I'm going to say this now actually, I thought the play-by-play for this WrestleMania was atrocious. I don't know what was going on, but I've got to say, I usually like Renee, but she was coming out with quotes like I was playing the freaking video game. I mean, just lines coming out of nowhere. just really random stuff all night, and especially in that main event. We'll get to that, but my God, I don't know what's up with the announcing lately. I feel like I need Mauro Ranello up there. I need a Jim Ross. I need someone who can tell stories whilst I'm watching the matches and actually talk about the match in front of me rather than this stuff that we've been told about for 2 hours on a panel as it is. Now we get told about it during a match. Just really didn't do it for me. And Jerry Lawler was out there though, just for this one match. Now, Matt, this one, AJ Randy, I've got to say, given that they only had 3 weeks, I felt like this feud on TV actually done all right for me. Like, I quite liked it because they were using a bit of reality into it, and I like the fact that they were pushing the envelope a little bit with, when he was talking about failing his drug tests and stuff like that. I thought that was good, and they touched where AJ was, and he was in bingo halls and stuff like that. So I was quite happy that they took some real life stuff and they made it kind of fit to their match. Made something out of nothing. The problem for this match, not many stakes for this. Like, whoever wins, I don't really know if it was gonna be like, oh, that's it now, he's better than him moment. For me, it lacked that. But going into this, I felt like they'd done a really good job considering they only had 3 weeks to do this. Very, very rushed. I mean, just imagine how good this would have been if WWE had prepped this properly from the Royal Rumble. Just left a few little seeds in there to have this match. It would have been so much better. But the match itself, pretty decent. Went 16 minutes. And there was some good stuff in this. Very different sort of styles, but no pun intended there with a name. Matt, what did you make of this match?
Much like you, I was a fan of the build-up. I felt like there was real chemistry between these two guys, and it's no secret how Randy Orton feels about indie wrestling. It's all there on his Twitter account. Feel free to browse it. He's always coming up with something interesting to read.
Yes, he is.
All of his opinions that he spoke about, I had no trouble believing that he really believes that, and that's when you get a little bit more interested in these storylines, when you feel like there is an element of truth behind them. So I was enjoying this. Hopefully for me it isn't the end, because I know WrestleMania weekend does wrap up the calendar year for wrestling, but it doesn't mean it has to be the end of all the feuds. So perhaps this will go on a little bit longer. I feel like these two guys probably have a little bit more to give each other, and if they have another match, I reckon they could probably up the ante a little bit and have a slightly better one, because the one downside for me was, although this was a good match, it didn't wow me quite like I thought it would. I mean, it wasn't too bad for me. I mean, I will say a little bit differently. I was surprised about it, but I just think the placement of it, this wasn't set as a marquee match. Like, this could have been where maybe, I know they said Batista and Triple H was like the number 4 main event, but come on. But at this point, given what happened to Seth Rollins and Brock, I kind of feel like AJ and Randy, it's kind of wasted. They could have made this much, much more. They could have had if they'd have done the proper planting for this, they could have made this match even bigger. But unfortunately, with 3 weeks to go, it wasn't enough stakes for me on this one. And although they discussed things, it could have got even more personal if they'd had more time to sort of sort it out. But real shame, because these are 2 iconic names, and I liked where they were going in the history, and it could have been so much sort of 2 different things coming together. Moment, a bit like John Cena and AJ, in fact. But a little bit of a shame there. One thing I've got in my notes here, Matt, I don't know if you noticed, but the fans were oddly cheering during this match at random stuff, was because of the lighting. It was awful. A lot of people took to Twitter sending their pictures of where they were sitting at WrestleMania, and this damn light just stayed on. It was so bright that nobody could see what was going on in the ring. There was chants to turn it off, going on all the way through it. I mean, it was ridiculous. And it went on for a while, so that didn't help the match, unfortunately, in terms of the reaction those guys were getting, which was a little bit of a shame, really. Thankfully, WWE realised and switched the bloody light off. I mean, those lights, Matt, we've sat before. I remember when we was in New York, we were sitting right at the top.
they do wear your eyes out, and when they are the looking at some of those photos, Matt. I mean, it's probably lucky.